Hey friends, my name is Nate. Welcome to Big Nate's Whiskey Lounge. I've been a whiskey nerd for about 3 to 4 years. I have immersed myself into the whiskey tube world for about a year and a half now, and I've been actively collecting for a little over a year. My goal here is to contribute to the already amazing universe of whiskey tube, and to become more a part of this awesome community and channels. I'll be highlighting some of my friends' channels and inviting you to experience and enjoy their content as much as I do. I love all whiskey, even whiskey with or without an E. I'll be giving history, reviews, and opinions on all genres of whiskey. I personally prefer Scotch to bourbon, but we'll mostly be doing bourbon or rye or American content because I'm in the US and it's easier to get my hands on unique bourbons, and it's easier than to get, say, unique Scotches or Irish. Today I'm going to be reviewing a bourbon that is near and dear to my heart. This bourbon was the first bourbon I purchased when I decided to jump into the whiskey world. I saw a review done by the Whiskey Vault, another YouTube channel, pretty much the channel that got me into whiskey. I definitely recommend you check them out. Check out the Whiskey Vault and the Whiskey Tribe. Two separate channels, same people. Check them out. I saw their review on this bottle and I knew that I had to get my hands on it. I can actually be quoted by friends and family as saying that this is my ride or die whiskey. In a hypothetical world where I could only have one whiskey for the rest of my life, this would be the whiskey I would choose. And so that whiskey is going to be Buffalo Trace. I love Buffalo Trace, and they are by far my favorite distillery. They're located in Frankfort, Kentucky. And they're originally known as Old Fashioned Copper. They've had other names throughout the years, but they are currently known as the Buffalo Trace Distillery, and their history dates all the way back to 1771. Buffalo Trace offers numerous different whiskeys, including some very famous and sought-after bottlings. You may know the Van Winkle line, including Pappy. There's also Blanton's, Colonel E.H. Taylor, and of course the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, which has in its line, it has George T. Stagg, William LaRue Weller, Thomas H. Handy, Sazerac 18 year, and Eagle Rare 17 year. Buffalo Trace also has a large history of famous bourbon icons, which includes Colonel E.H. Taylor, George T. Stagg, Albert Blanton, and Elmer T. Lee, just to name a few. Long history. In modern times, the current person of royalty, if you will, his name is Freddie Johnson. Freddie is a third-generation employee of Buffalo Trace. He's following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather, Jimmy Johnson Jr. and Sr. And Buffalo Trace has actually come out with a line of old-fashioned sodas in honor of Freddie Johnson and his family's legacy. Freddie has a very large social media presence, and is said by those who have met him that he is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. I know for myself, I very much look forward to meeting him in person one day. So the standard Buffalo Trace offering, was introduced in August of 1999. It is a straight bourbon. It is non-age stated, although it is believed to be about 6 to 8 years old. It is 90 proof or 45% alcohol by volume. It is made from Buffalo Trace's mash bill number 1. Buffalo Trace has two main bourbon mash bills. They also have a wheated mash bill, which is the Pappy and Weller lines. And then they have their rye line. But they have two main bourbon mash bills. Mash bill number 1, which is Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare. And then they have mash bill number 2. And they have some fantastic bottlings in number 2. And I'll forget which ones they are, so I'm not going to say them or else I'll get yelled at in the comments. But mash bill number 1 is believed to have 10% or less rye as the secondary grain. So it's a little lower on the rye end, whereas a high rye typically would be considered at 18 or so percent. So this bourbon, it's a solid, if you were playing baseball, it's a solid 88 mile an hour fastball right down home plate. We're not messing around here. Pitcher's not throwing, 97, 98 mile heaters. He's not getting funky with the corners. It's right down the middle. It's a great neat pour, but it does work well on the rocks or in cocktails. I was actually at a wedding 2 weeks ago, and They didn't really have a great selection. However, they did have both Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare, which is Buffalo Trace's big brother. So I was happy that they had that because I'll drink those all day long. I ordered an Old Fashioned with the Buffalo Trace in it, and then a neat pour of the Eagle Rare. And the bartender had no idea what she was doing, so I was kind of describing an Old Fashioned to her, and I had mentioned, you know, put a cherry in there. Well, when I wasn't looking, she put grenadine in it, and I didn't pay attention. Paid, went away. It was an open bar, but you had to pay I had to pay because Buffalo Trace wasn't on the well line. I went back to my seat, started drinking it, and that kind of ruined my night a little bit. However, I was happy because I was able to get a couple of neat pours of Eagle Rare. And in my area, for some reason, wedding venues don't give out neat pours. They kind of make excuses. I don't know why that is. Maybe some of you know and can comment on why. I remember at my brother's wedding a couple of years ago, we wanted to do shots, and they had to give us, they had to put ice in it, which kind of ruins a shot for you. So I don't know why that is, but I was just really happy by the fact that I was sold, I think 2 or 3 neat pours of Eagle Rare, so I was very happy. So now to get to this whiskey, the Buffalo Trace. I'm going to be giving a couple of notes. I'm also going to be writing in my whiskey journal. I started doing a whiskey journal, and so I'm going to be writing alongside, so you can... So I'll be giving notes on the nose and on the palate, and I'll be rating it, kind of like ADHD Whiskey does. But I'm not going to do the points. I'm not going to try to fully steal from him. I'll just go solid numbers 0 through 10. So cherry is pretty prevalent. I do hear a lot of people say that they get grapes off of noses. I don't know if that's particular to a certain Buffalo Trace mash bill. I'm not necessarily getting that as much, but I'm getting a lot of caramel, a lot of cherry. It's pleasant. I can't pick up whether I'm getting fruity or floral, but I really, it's very pleasant. But here we go. Now you'll notice that when I did my nosing, for those of you that may be newer, maybe I have some friends or family that aren't in the community that saw that, you notice that when you're drinking whiskey, or when you're at least nosing it, you tend to, sometimes people will smell with their mouth open. I tend to do that a lot. And it's just because there's a minimum 40% alcohol in whiskey, and it's just a lot hitting your senses. And so if you open your mouth, it kind of lets it run through. The way Daniel Whittington from the Whiskey Vault describes it is, if you're driving out on a highway at 8 miles an hour, you pop a window and your ears kind of get messed up. If you open another window, let the cross breeze through, it doesn't mess you up. That's kind of the way with whiskey. So right off the bat, classic bourbon notes. You know, I get the cherry, I get a little bit of caramel, touch and nuttiness, the barrel char is in there. You'll notice that my palate and the way I describe things will probably develop over time. But again, and I haven't had Buffalo Trace. I mean, I told you I had a cocktail a couple weeks ago, but I hadn't had any Buffalo Trace in a long time. It's not necessarily allocated, although technically a lot of people call it allocated. Buffalo Trace, basically everything's allocated now. In my area, you're probably going to have to pay about $30 to $35 for this. Which is a little above what it should be. Frankly, this is a solid $25 bourbon, but because of how when it comes into my area, it's gone. So that's a $7.50 that I have. There's one store in my area where I can get a $175 handle pretty regularly, but not a lot of people get that. So I can pretty much get that, and that'll probably be my next purchase of when I have to replace this bottle. But when 750s come in, they're gone. If you don't grab it, don't sit on it. But I think I paid $32.99 for this bottle. And that was probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and I've been sitting on it for a little bit because I haven't seen the 750s in a while. Overall, I'm biased toward this whiskey, and I kind of mentioned that at the beginning here. I'm going to give this... So again, I said I wasn't going to do ADHD's point where he was given like 8.1s, 8.5s, things like that. And I'm tempted to. I'm between a 7 and an 8. So just because of how classic this is, because of how down home plate it is, it's not... I'm giving it a sip here. Yeah, there's not alcohol burn. There's not really any for those of you that, you know, shy away from brown liquor or harder whiskey because of the alcohol content. 90 proof is really good. It's a really good starting point in my opinion. 80 proof is, go put that, my opinion, go put that in something, go drink it on the rocks, go put it in a cocktail. That's what it really should be for, in my opinion. 90 is where you're going up 5% ABV, 10 points in proof content. And you can start to pick out a little more notes there. And again, I'm newer to it. I'm just doing this for the fun of it. I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to give it an overall of 7. It's definitely a keeper. Keep it on your bar. Keep it. If what we're going to do, and I'll probably do this one day with those top 5 whiskey lists, or not top, but 5 whiskeys you have to have at all times. This would probably be my daily sipper. Actually, not even probably, it would be, and I'll always stick to that. But anyway, again, my name is Nate. This is Big Nate's Whiskey Lounge. I hope you enjoyed this content. Just going to be fun, not really taking it too seriously, not even really having any goals where I want to go. Just kind of want to do my own thing. If you like, hit the like button, comment, please give me comments. Tell me what I should be doing. I don't have the greatest equipment. I'm not really into editing yet, so this is a raw shot video. And so hopefully over time I'll start to develop those things. But like, comment, please subscribe. And I mentioned 2 channels today. I was only going to do one. I mentioned the Whiskey Vault / Whiskey Tribe, and then I also